Hello people, I am Jaby Koay, and we're going to look at the Junglee trailer starring Vidyut Jammwal, Pooja Swant, and Asha Bhatt. This is directed by Chuck Russell. Apparently, this is the guy who directed The Mask, The Blob, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and The Scorpion King, as well as Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day. This is so random. This is the last person I would expect to direct this film, the guy who did Eraser, to do Junglee. I saw Eraser as a kid, and because I was a kid and I loved Arnold Schwarzenegger, I loved the movie. I don't know if it's good now. I loved The Mask as a kid, so this is just such an interesting choice for a director for this movie. I'm very curious about the behind the scenes, about how this all came together. In the description, it says the film is directed by legendary Hollywood filmmaker Chuck Russell. This is fascinating, to say the least. All right, let's check this out.
ये है भोला, मेरे बचपन का दोस्त। हमारी दोस्ती में कोई रूल नहीं, और ऐसी दोस्ती सिखाने वाला कोई स्कूल नहीं।
Look at those tusks. जब शिकार इतना ताकतवर हो, तो शिकारी भी टक्कर का होना चाहिए।
ये तो किसी आदमी को खा रहा है।
गधा होकर भी जानवरों के बारे में इतना कम कैसे जानता है?
शंकरा,
वेलकम होम राज।
बहुत मिस किया तुझे मैंने।
खुद ही छोड़ के गए और खुद ही मिस भी करने लगे।
तुम्हें हो जाए एक हाथ जाने से पहले, तेरी हड्डियां टूट जाएंगी। तेरे जंगल को कौन बचाएगा?
अपना ख्याल रखना राज।
तुम दोनों भी।
वो कौन तुम? अश्वत्थामा? अमर? मेरे वाले महाभारत में अश्वत्थामा भी मरता है।
राज, तुम बच के नहीं जा पाएंगे। मैं जाने भी नहीं दूंगा।
There's an interesting dynamic happening here where there's two women and I can't tell if it's kind of a love triangle where Vidyut Jammwal's character hasn't quite decided who he's in love with. Imagine it's gonna be Pooja Swant, but who knows? Only by watching the film can you find out, right? I would imagine that this appeals to the ladies as well because Vidyut Jammwal and his partner in the film, or this person who seems to be helping him, Akshay Abaroy, they're both pretty people, and it's kind of jealousy inducing. You're like, oh boy, wow. Like, I could just imagine like women watching this movie just like swooning. They're made to look so pretty. Vidyut Jammwal is like perfectly clean shaven with that chiseled jaw, and then Akshay Abaroy is over there with the perfect cut beard, also with the chiseled jaw, the perfect haircut on both of them. They're both very suave looking. Even though they're not playing suave in the movie, they both have very striking good looks. It's like you can't ignore it. You gotta call it out because it's there, it's in front of you. So yeah, it makes perfect sense that you'd have someone like Vidyut Jammwal caught in a love triangle with these two beautiful ladies. It's a lot of beautiful faces in the movie. They also have an American cinematographer. This is such a random collection. This is such a random unity of people. It says from the makers of Badhai Ho, Razi, Barli Ki Barfi, and Talvar. I don't remember what Barli Ki Barfi is, but the other three are so different from this movie. I'm still so thrown by this. It's cool. I mean, I'm actually really excited by the production aspect of this and seeing this happen more often. So Atul Kulkarni is in this movie. If you guys don't already know, I am a fan of him. I think that his acting style is awesome. Seeing him here gets me even more excited for this movie. movie. A lot of action in this movie, and it all takes place in the jungle. When I initially heard about this film, my immediate thought was Ong Bak 2. There were some crazy stunts in Ong Bak 2 relating to elephants and whatnot. It was insane. So what's being advertised a lot throughout this trailer is Vidyut Jammwal's movement. Obviously, he's very capable. I've done reactions to his fight scenes and some of his other trailers. I think he's a super talented dude. The thing that was concerning me is the editing in this trailer. I don't know if it speaks to the editing in the film. I hope that when I watch this movie, I'm able to appreciate the fight scenes like the way I would appreciate a Jackie Chan fight scene, where you can actually see what's happening, see the full scope of the action and the choreography, so that, you know, it's not really lost in crazy camera work and super fast editing. That kind of stuff always kind of gets to me. I know that that's a Jaby thing. It doesn't necessarily bother a lot of you guys, but for me, coming from an action background, I really appreciate when you can really see the action and what's going on. So you can appreciate the choreographer's work, you can appreciate Vidyut Jammwal's movement, and there were some interesting stunts going on here that do feel very much like what Jackie Chan might have done or what Tony Jaa might have done with like flipping out of the car and stuff like that. There was one shot in there that really like made me wince for the stunt guy. It looked like the guy got crushed inside the door of a car because a motorcycle came by or something, or another vehicle came by. That was crazy. At one point, you saw Vidyut Jammwal doing some interesting bow staff work. I wonder if that's gonna play a role, because they didn't show any action sequences where he's actually using that staff, at least not that I recall. I just saw him training with it. We don't get a whole lot of staff sequences in movies anymore, like actual staff fight scenes. It might have petered out with Star Wars The Phantom Menace and Lord of the Rings Return of the King. Like, you just don't see people using staff as part of choreography that much anymore. It'd be cool if there was at least one fight scene where he did, because they set it up, he's actually training with it, and if they don't use it, that's Chekhov's gun. You gotta use it. Like a really good staff fight scene would be nice to see, where he's actually up against an opponent that is formidable, and he's, you know, some kind of weapons fight scene. I don't imagine Atul Kulkarni is gonna be doing any fight scenes with him. There might be someone that has not been shown in the trailer yet that is actually gonna go one-on-one against Vidyut Jammwal. Maybe Akshay Oberoi turns against him and he's the guy that fights him because he's actually working for Atul Kulkarni. Who knows? If it suddenly turned out that Atul Kulkarni's got the skill set to do some crazy ass fight scenes, that would make my day. I would love to see that. That would blow my mind. Because I already think he's a great actor. And then if he were to do an amazing fight scene with Vidyut Jammwal on top of that, forget about it. That's crazy. So obviously, there are 4 big draws for me in this film. There's the action with Vidyut Jammwal, Atul Kulkarni's acting, and the faces of Pooja Sawant and Asha Bhatt. The timing of this film was also a little bit interesting because we just had 2 stories back to back of The Jungle Book, or 2 iterations, I should say. This is in itself a little bit like it because this is a guy who can speak to the animals, I mean, namely elephants. That aspect of the wildlife is what we're most focused in on, is preserving these endangered species. Obviously, the appeal for most people is going to be action, but I'm pretty certain that at the end of the film, you'll see a little message talking about how we need to preserve this jungle life, of course, in particular the elephants, because that's what's being showcased the most here. We have to preserve our forests, we have to preserve this wildlife. It's important for the balance of the ecosystem. I know that elephants get hunted down a lot for those tusks. That's obviously an aspect of the story here. Atul Kulkarni's team of henchmen are all going after these elephants to get those tusks because they're worth a lot. The particular elephant they've chosen that Vidyut Jammwal has a friendship with is interesting because he's got these tusks that cross. Arbitrary detail, but I've never seen an elephant with crossing tusks. It's always come out just straightforward. Like, of all the elephants to find, it's such a fascinating thing. It'd be cool if, like Ong Bak, they were able to find a way to integrate stunts where Vidyut Jammwal could step off of those tusks. It's a tricky area because it borders on what some might consider animal cruelty. It looked dope in Ong Bak when Tony Jaa was like flipping off the elephant and stuff like that. But in Thailand, they have a huge love and affinity for elephants. So it seemed to be in appreciation of that wildlife and those elephants, and it brings more attention to that wildlife. And there's another film called, well, it's called Tam Yong Gun in Thailand, but in the States they called it The Protector, where the whole thing was about Tony Jaa's relationship with this elephant. So if you're into action movies involving elephants, those are 2 for you. Tam Yong Gun, or The Protector, and Ong Bak 2. It's a very bright movie. It's very colorful. It almost feels like this was made with kids in mind as well, to have as much massive appeal as possible. Even the scenes that are in dark settings still feel very well lit. It's a feel-good action film, and you don't actually get a lot of those these days, so this is such an interesting movie for me. It's like, the last time we got a feel-good action film was with Jackie Chan, like, and that was like 80 Days Around the World or some random movie that he decided to make. Even in his fight scene in Commando, I don't know what the tone of the rest of the film was, but even in that, it felt like it had mass appeal because you didn't see any blood. It was a little bit goofy in terms of the action, and I imagine that's what you're gonna get here is, even though Vidyut Jammwal is like flipping around and kicking ass, in the end, it's a little bit goofy. So that it has massive appeal and it can be watched by the whole family. Anyways, those are my thoughts, you guys. Please do comment below and let me know your feelings on this trailer. Be honest, be verbose. If you're excited, if you're not, why or why not? Subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our other reactions, reviews, and short films. I'm Jaby Koay. Peace out.